This is the Ccisd News Back to School Town Hall, brought to you with limited commercial interruption by the law offices of Herman and Herman.
Well, good evening, Coastal Bend, and welcome to this Ccisd News special. I'm Caturiarte. As part of our commitment to you and to help you rebound from this pandemic, we are bringing you this 1-hour show that is dedicated to going back to school. If you're a parent, you want answers. If you're a teacher, an administrator, staff, you want to know, is it safe to go back to school, and what will this school year look like? So let's get started. I want to introduce you to our esteemed panelists. I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. Tonight we have Dr. Roland Hernandez, who has been the superintendent of the Corpus Christi Independent School District since 2014, and just a few weeks ago was named Regional Superintendent of the Year. So congratulations and welcome, Dr. Hernandez.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know him in the community, and he hardly needs much of an introduction because of how much he has accomplished, not only when he was at Moody High School, but now as superintendent of the West Oso Independent School District. Please welcome Conrado Garcia. Thank you, Conrado, for being with us.
It was my pleasure, Katia. Thank you for inviting me.
And we want to give a Coastal Bend welcome to Dr. Michelle Cavazos, who in June was named superintendent for the Gregory Portland Independent School District. She just moved here from Austin. So from all of us, welcome, Dr. Cavazos.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to join you this evening.
And also on our panel, a man who has completely turned around his district in a short amount of time, a district that is now getting national recognition. Please welcome the superintendent of Fremont ISD, Steve Van Maitre. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Katia. It's an honor to be with you.
Thank you. And here to represent her school district, which has an enrollment of more than 3,000 students in the Coastal Bend, please help me give a warm welcome to the Catholic School Superintendent for the Diocese of Corpus Christi, Dr. Rosemary Henry. Welcome, Dr. Henry.
Thank you, Katia. I'm happy to be here with you this evening.
Thank you. And to give us a scientific take on going back to school, and really he is he's seeing COVID firsthand, is pulmonary and critical care specialist, Dr. Humajun Anjum. Thank you, Dr. Anjum, for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Katia. It's a privilege to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Anjum. So let's just go ahead and get started. So we had a chance to recently talk with Governor Greg Abbott, and we asked him, if in-person school started today, would you recommend we postpone or go forward? And here's what he had to say.
Pediatricians all recommend that the best learning environment for a child is going to be in the classroom. As a result, if and when possible, we want to ensure students will be able to learn in a classroom. Whenever and wherever possible, we encourage schools to be open physically for classrooms for students, as many as can attend, to attend, while also maintaining the flexibility for this distance learning. Bottom line is this, and that is local school districts have the decision-making ability to decide when the school year will begin, and when that school year begins, whether they want that school year to begin online or in classrooms, and if it begins online, when and how to bring students back into the classroom.
So as we heard the governor say, he's really putting it in your hands, the hands of the school districts, to decide when and how to reopen. So Dr. Hernandez, you have the largest school district in the area. Can you elaborate on what is your plan for CCISD?
So right now our plan is to open up September 8th. That'll be right after Labor Day. We'll start with providing face-to-face instruction for all the students who choose to come back to our schools. We'll be having all of our teachers teach from the classrooms, whether they're teaching the students face-to-face or providing the remote learning for the students who stay home. And so the options, of course, are face-to-face or to learn remotely from home. Parents know we put our reopening plan out recently that we're asking them to commit to whatever approach they choose through a whole grading period before they decide whether they want to change or not. But that's where we are right now, starting class on September 8th.
And that is face-to-face?
Yes. Otherwise, we'll start August 13th for all students to be learning remotely.
Gotcha. Okay. Dr. Cavazos, can you tell us what your plan is for Gregory Portland, which also you're going to start virtually, correct?
Correct. Very similar to what CCISD is doing. Our first day of school is the 13th, And for the first 3 weeks of school, all of our students will be participating remotely. And then beginning September 8th, we will begin a phase-in process of welcoming students who've chosen our face-to-face option back into our facilities.
Is the plan for the first couple of weeks, that's what is established now? We can't really make a plan for the rest of the school year. Can there be a plan in place until, let's say, December, or for the entire school year to go one way or another?
Well, so if I interpret your question accurately, we're giving our families the option to do the online 100%. And like CCISD, we prefer that they go by the grading period, it just makes it a little easier. And then our hope is that for all those families who have chosen face-to-face, that we'll be able to continue through the semester. We do have a facility response plan should, in the event that someone contracts a virus in a facility, and we'll handle those on a case-by-case basis.
Conrado Garcia, as of right now, you're moving forward, right, with online learning until October.
In the month of June that we traditionally do summer school, we decided to do summer training for teachers and to prepare them even more so for the virtual world. And our teachers did a tremendous job in the spring for not being exposed to that previously. And second, what we did is move our summer school program to the middle of July. And that was intentional, so we can get an experience factor with over 300 kids and literally work on our virtual learning environment. Our surveys indicated that parents wanted virtual learning, and they wanted it for an extended period of time. And the board wanted for us to continue under the recommendation we made through the 16th of October. In the meantime, we will also plan for that with the smaller classes and offering the virtual learning as well. And if we go back to the school, we will modify some of our operations, obviously, to keep a safe distance and the mask and feeding kids in the classroom, etc. So we will do that like all my other colleagues will.
Dr. Henry, Attorney General Ken Paxton said that religious private schools are not restricted by local public health orders. So what is the diocese plan for going back to school?
The safety and health and well-being of all of our students and teachers and staff are just critical, and we value those immensely. Officially, our first day of class is Wednesday, October 5th. And this is a remote learning opportunity for all students, grades pre-K3 to grade 12. Now, following all safety precautions, our plan is very specific in welcoming all of our students back in person on September 8th with a number of options, a number of platforms. One, of course, will be in-person classroom. One, of course, will be online learning option. And then we also have, for our middle schools and high school students, we will have a rotating option of a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, with the variable of online learning. This is going to be a challenging year for all of us, but we think it's going to open a lot of doors in the area of teaching and learning, some new ideas, some new opportunities where students can learn, where students can lead, where students can serve, and where students can succeed.
Let me ask this for Dr. Roland Hernandez as well as Dr. Cavazos. When we were talking earlier about West OSO and the fact that they have extended already into October their distance learning, how do you determine everybody is kind of starting differently or keeping that virtual learning for an extended period of time?
Well, for us in Gregory, Portland, we had done a survey in June of our community to just get an idea of what our families were wanting. And at that time, it was about 60-ish% who wanted face-to-face. So as we developed our plan for the fall, that's what we used. And as cases have spiked through the summer, that's gone down to about 50%. And so we know we have a large portion of our community who really does want to get back to face-to-face. And so for us, we will be phasing in beginning September 8th, starting at about a 25% of those who've chosen the face-to-face option to be in our buildings for 2 weeks, and then phase in the next group to where 50% and so on.
Gotcha. Dr. Hernandez?
In our case, similar, we, at the time we made our decision was to delay it through September 8th, Labor Day. And that was mainly because we started to see the numbers start to spike and the spread. So it just gave us some time to reassess, and then we'll come back at that time and decide if we need to move it back further. But, you know, we did adopt a year-round calendar this year, and we built in intermittent weeks throughout the year. So if we have to make adjustments like that, we can. That's our plan right now, all remote learning through the 8th, and then start the face-to-face. And then we'll just kind of gauge it at that time to see what our situation is, since it's so different across the state.
Right. Steve and Matry, I'm going to get to you this real quick before we go to break, but the Fremont School District, you guys actually held in-person learning for the first 3 weeks of June to end your year for last year. You were on national TV talking about that. You know, the Texas Tribune is actually doing a story on you. Tell us about the successes and the challenges that you faced with in-person learning in June.
Well, Katya, we did, and we were so excited to see our kids. Fremont opened its doors for in-person instruction on June 1st, which was the first day that Governor Abbott allowed schools to do that. Now, at that time, the Fremont community had 0 cases of positive testing. Our teachers were heavily involved in collaboration with our plans, and we spent a lot of time on making attention to detail. Some of our successes were that we're very proud that nobody got sick. None of our students, none of our staff became ill. And we did make some significant improvement in closing that COVID-19 achievement gap that we saw from when we literally had to pivot from one day to the next from your traditional in-person model to a remote virtual. And we had a significant decline in student performance from that crisis mode of instructional continuity. And we also, one of the challenges is we have to be much more prescriptive with our instructional delivery in every one of our classrooms, because time is precious, and we have to be flexible enough to where if there is a spike in community spread, we can transition from in-person to remote from one day to the next, like we did in the spring.
What we're going to do right now is we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the first question is going to be to Dr. Anjoum, and the question is it safe for our kids and our teachers, as well as our administrators and staff, to go back to school and learn in a classroom setting for our kids? That answer after this short break.
The Back to School Town Hall is a presentation of Chris 6 News and has been brought to you by the law offices of Herman & Herman.